Morning, everyone. My name is Suzanne Schriefer, and I'm one of the librarians here at Rasmussen. I've been with Rasmussen for over 15 years, but I've been a librarian for many more years than that. But thank you for coming this evening to this webinar about how to effectively search library databases. So what we're going to cover this evening, first we're going to talk about what a library database is, and we're going to share a little bit of information about how library databases are maybe similar but different than Google. I'm going to demonstrate how to access our library databases, but really the sort of the meat of this webinar is going to focus on the next few questions. Why it's important to develop a search strategy, and then how do we create a search statement to use in a database search? Then I'll demonstrate how to do that, and then we'll spend a little time talking about what to do with those search results and how to focus them, or how to sort through them and look at some of the features that are available in this library data in these library databases that will make it easier for you as students. And then we'll finish up with where you can get help. So, and as I mentioned earlier, please feel free to use the chat to ask any questions. I'll try to answer those as we go along. Also, I'll spend some time at the end. I'll be available to answer your questions. And don't let me forget, there's a survey that we like to share with everybody because we do like your feedback on these webinars so that we can make them better. So let's start with what a library database is and how it's a little bit different than using a search engine like Google to find information. And I know that we all use both. I mean, everybody Googles every day, I'm sure, but let's talk about some of the differences. I think the number one thing is you will have the best results in library databases if you search with keywords. You can link these keywords with what we call Boolean operators or Boolean connectors. And that's what I'm going to get into a little bit later. Now, that's significant because many of us have developed, pretty good skills in searching Google. And in Google, you can type in a keyword, but you can also type in phrases, questions, sentences, and still get pretty good results. If you use those strategies in a library database, you're probably not going to get much that you can work with. And I'll get into that in a little bit. A library database is a searchable collection of resources that have been selected by the database companies. So they have been purposely put into these library databases, and the resources are edited and vetted before they are allowed to be in a library database. As we all know, in doing a internet search or using Google, it searches anything that anybody posted online into the database. So you have to be the editor. You have to determine whether uh, the information is reliable, credible, believable, accurate, timely, etc. So if you use the internet exclusively for research, you have a lot of work to do, where a lot of that work has been done for you by the editors and the people who create these library databases, because they have a certain standard of the types of resources that are allowed to be in these databases. Library database producers add a lot of extra stuff that is really helpful. And we'll see in a moment that you can generate an APA citation if you find an article in a library database. They add subject headings. They add a lot of other features to kind of make your life as a researcher and as a student a little bit easier. The only thing I can think of that's comparable in Google, and this is strictly a Google thing, is you can limit a search by domain. And what I mean by domain is those are those last three letters in a web address, so .edu, .com, .gov, etc. So if I wanted to do a search in Google for just government information, I can type my search term :.gov, and it will limit my search to just government websites or just websites that end with .gov. So that's a nice little tool to know about. And then finally, because of all the additional material and features that library database developers add to each article, you can actually search on some of those. You can filter your results, you can generate citations, you can create folders to save your work, etc. And I think the only other kind of special feature within Google is there's Google Scholar, which really limits your search to just academic journals. There are some problems with Google Scholar, and many of you may have already encountered this, where you find an article that's really great, you click on it, and the publisher wants you to spend $20, $30, $40 to access the content. There are ways to search Google Scholar and connect it with our library collections, because chances are we own that document or that journal in one of our library databases, and you can get it there without paying that paywall. So just another little tip, another little plug for using library databases. Okay, so what is a library database? Basically, it's a searchable collection of resources. And the resources included in our databases include a wide variety of resource types. So you can find academic journals, you can find trade publications, which are, you know, publications by a certain industry or discipline. You can find ebooks, you can find magazines, you can find newspapers, but you can also find video content, you can find images, you can find audio. There's a lot of different types of resources in our library databases. The other thing you might notice when you look at our database collection is some of our databases are very general. They cover a wide variety of topics, but many of them are very focused. And I'll do a little demo to show you how to sort through those, because as you can imagine, the library databases that we purchase for Rasmussen University support the academic programs that we offer here. We're not like a public library where we have like a lot of different things for a lot of different on a lot of different topics. We're pretty focused on the programs that we offer here. So if you're in a health sciences program or a business program or in a design program, we can sort our database list and find the best databases for your program. And I'll show you how to do that. And I already mentioned that, the resources that are included in these databases are vetted and edited. And finally, because we pay subscriptions for these library databases, which comes out of your tuition, you have access to all this. So you're never going to run into a paywall when you use the library databases. Okay, so I mentioned that these library database companies include a lot of resources in their databases. So what is actually being searched? When you type a keyword into the search box, it is searching what we call the full record for that resource. And that record includes the bibliographic information. What I mean by bibliographic information is it's the author, the title, the name of the journal, the date of publication, the publisher, and all that kind of information. It's also searching the full text of the article or the ebook or whatever resource it is. And that's kind of important when you have to start thinking about a search statement, because it's actually searching every single word and looking for a word match. So whatever you type in that text box is trying to match the words with what's contained in that database. It's searching the document type. Is this an academic journal? Is it an ebook? Is it an encyclopedia, et cetera, et cetera? It searches the subject heading. So each item in a database has certain subject headings applied to them. And so sometimes if you find a really good subject heading that really defines your topic, you can actually search for resources using just that subject heading, but that it's also searching that. It searches geographic terms. You'll find that our library databases contain resources from all over the world. So you will find articles in German, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, English, French, et cetera, et cetera. So it also includes information about studies that are conducted in countries around the world. So you can actually limit geographically. There are some ways to do that. So it searches that. It searches an abstract. So for many articles, the database publishers have somebody write an abstract so you can get a brief idea of what the article is about, whether it'll be useful or not. So it searches that. And it also searches the DOI number. And I don't know if any of you have run into DOI numbers. I know in a lot of academic publishing, you will find what they call a DOI number. That stands for Digital Object Identifier. That's not really important. Just know that DOI numbers are a unique number or code attached to academic journals and ebooks. Um, and the reason these were developed is because we're in a period where even though we have a lot of things published in print, a lot of resources are now published exclusively online, and there was concern that some of these great resources would get lost. So they've been assigned these unique codes. If you put that into a web browser or you type it into a library database, it'll pull it up. It's also important because according to APA citation rules, if there is a DOI number for a resource, your APA reference ends with that DOI number. So I'll show you how to find that if you ever need it. Okay, so here we're getting to the important stuff about, oops, didn't mean to do that. This is the process of developing a search statement to use in a library database. Now, I'm really breaking it down into unique steps. Once you become a little bit more proficient, this will become kind of automatic. So step number one is define your research question. Then, once you've defined the research question, look at it and try to identify the main concepts. Then we translate those main concepts into keywords that we want to use in our search. And then if we have, multiple concepts or multiple words that we want to include, we can connect those with what we call Boolean operators. And then there's a fifth optional step, which we call quotation marks and truncation. I know this sounds like a different language. I'm going to walk through each one of these step by step so that hopefully you'll understand a little bit better about how to use these databases effectively. But first, I'm going to test all of you. And this is, so use the chat or unmute and tell me. This is, okay, I spent like 5 minutes. It's like, okay, what do I want to accomplish in this paper? And I decided, I thought about my topic, and this is what I want to prove, that teen social media use plays a major role in mental health challenges. So that's kind of my thesis statement. That's what I'm going to kind of try to prove. So can anybody tell me, can you identify a key word that might be helpful in a database search from this sentence? Or what are some of the concepts that we want in an article for it to be helpful to us? Oh, I see some teen. Yes, good job. Is there something else?
Social media.
Yes, social media.
Mental health.
Mental health. Boy, I have a sharp group tonight. Yes, so we have three main concepts in this sentence. Can you see why it's helpful to just free write a little bit about your topic? Because it kind of helps you identify those keywords. So we have three concepts: teenagers, social media, and mental health. Okay, so remember, I said that we are searching full text. And remember all the things that you're searching when you type a word in? Sometimes it's helpful to include multiple ways of saying the same thing because you have to think about how would an author write about that? So, and I think the concept of teen is probably the best one because some authors might talk about teen or teens, plural. They might talk about teenagers. They might talk about adolescents. They might talk about young adults. They might talk about youths. I mean, there are a lot of different words that describe that concept of teen. Social media. I mean, that's a pretty precise search term. I think everybody knows what social media is, but maybe you want to focus on a specific type of social media. Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever. I think social media is probably a pretty decent term in and of itself. Mental health, again, that's a very specific term, but you could also talk about mental illness, mental health, but then you have specific types of conditions, depression, anxiety, self-esteem, etc. So would I use all of these words in my search? Probably not. But it's always helpful to have a few ideas about alternative terms kind of in your back pocket in case you try one word and it's not really giving you very good results. And then you can add another word or try a different word, and then you might get better results. So I think it's always helpful to kind of think through how would somebody write about this, and I'll show you how we connect these terms together. So just a moment, here we go. Okay, so now we've got our topic figured out. We figured out our concepts. We have this list of keywords. So the next thing we need to do is to logically connect our keywords. And we do that with, I call these Boolean operators. And there are actually three of them, although you'll probably only ever use the first two. So the first Boolean operator or Boolean connector is called the AND connector. And that is used when you want to connect two concepts. So that's like teenager and depression. When you link something with the and word, with the and connector, it means that both words have to appear in the same article or resource to end up on your results list. Does that make sense? So it kind of narrows your search because you're actually focusing your search because you're looking for two concepts or maybe three concepts that you want in an article. Now, the OR connector is what you use when you want to include synonyms or similar terms. That applies to teens, adolescents, teenager, youth, young adults. If you want to include all those, you would connect those with ORs. Okay. The not connector, I will tell you, is almost never used. It's if you want to eliminate something. I think in my I hate to tell you, 30 plus 40 years being a librarian, I think I've used that not connector maybe 3 or 4 times. So it's rarely used, but it's there if you want it. But that's how you exclude articles, you exclude terms. Okay, so here's just a Venn diagram kind of describing what in picture format what I was just telling you about. So the light green circle are all the articles in the database that talk about social media. The darker green circle is all the articles in the database include the word mental health. And when you connect them with and, you're just getting that intersection with the yellow arrow. So you can see how that really narrows your search. So if you're doing a database search and you get like, 500,000 articles, think of another concept that you can connect with and to focus it a little bit. Okay, so let's look at the or. So as I said, when you use the or connector, you're saying I'll accept one or the other. I really don't care. They're both equally acceptable to me. So both of the circles here are yellow. I have teen is, represents all the articles with the word teen in it. And the other is all the articles with the word adolescent in it. And you're saying, I'll take them all. So if you do a search and you only have like 5 or 6 results, try to think of synonyms that you can add with the or connector. You might broaden your search a little bit. And then the not. So let's say, for example, you're really focusing on social media, but for some reason you're getting a bunch of articles about video games and you really don't care about video games. So you can say social media, not video games. So that'll automatically remove any article that has that phrase video games in it. Okay, so that's kind of how those operators, those Boolean connectors work. Okay, so the next two items are things that you can do to make your search a little bit more precise or um, maybe a little more efficient. And these are strictly optional. But I find when I have a search term or a keyword that's more than one word, like social media, or um, say I'm doing health research or medical conditions. I have myocardial infarction or something like that. If I put quotation marks around those two words, it'll search it as a chunk. It'll search those two words together in that order. And it just gives me a more precise result. If I didn't put the quotation marks around it, you might see the word social in the first sentence of the paragraph. Media might be, further down. You really want those words together because they have meaning when they're together. So enclose those terms that are more than one word with quotation marks. Now, one thing that's not kind of nice, we have this other tool called the truncation tool. So remember my example of teens and teenager and teen singular and plural. Well, I can get them all if I just type TEEN, the root of that word, with an asterisk. So it's going to give me any word that begins with TEEN. So I can get teen, teenager, but I'm also going to get I might get something that uses the word teensier or teeny, and who knows, there might be something else that starts with TEEN that I'm not thinking of. So you might get some false results, but remember these databases searching, the software is pretty literal. It's really just looking for characters that match. So, but it's really nice to have that root word with the asterisk, the truncation tool available, because sometimes it comes in really handy for words like teen or teenager. Okay, so remember we link our concepts with and, we link our synonyms and related terms with or, and it works on the ands first and then it works on the ors. I don't know if that's really important, except that I'm going to be showing you in a minute because I'm going to demo Discovery Search. Where they have like a whole worksheet set up for you. But if you were to type your search statement in one search text box, like a Google text box, know that mental health quotation and parenthesis teen or adolescent. I do the parentheses around the ors, so it keeps that together in the search, and then it connects it with mental health. That's not really important right now because I'm going to show you an easier way to do that. Okay, so with our example, because we had social media and mental health and teen or teenagers, when I do that search, notice because I have three concepts connected with Anne, it really narrows everything down. So the dark green circle is everything with teen, teenager, etc. The lighter green is mental health. The yellow is social media. But the things that what's going to end up on my result list is that little triangle in the middle. It's those articles that have all three terms in the same article because I connected them with and. So that's a really great way to focus a search. I will, just another tip, I have found that in most cases, I get better results if I use two or three concepts max. If I start adding four or five concepts, it gets so narrow that it's almost not usable. You really don't get enough results to choose from. So I kind of go by the rule of thumb of keep it to one, two, or three. Just a little tip there. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to go to the library database to the library web page. And do you know how to get here? Um, you can access this page from your online class. If you go to Books and Tools, there is a link to the library. If you go to the student portal and you go to the resources drop down, there's a link to the library, or you can just save the website guides.rasmussen.edu/library to get here if you want to bookmark it. But this little box here at the top is called Discovery Search. This is a tool that allows you to search most of our databases in one search. And I'm going to be using Discovery Search for my demonstration tonight. I just want to point out a couple other things though. Um, Right up here, we have a tab called Research Help. If you click on this, we have step-by-step instructions about how to conduct research sort of from the beginning all the way through. We have a whole section on Google Scholar. There's a great video in there that kind of gives tips, etc. And searching for sources is where you can find information about library database searching. And then we have some other things about advanced searching and then some subject specific things. We also have our videos. So you will find, like this is the webinar from last quarter. So I'll be posting the recording from tonight here as well. So lots of great resources there. Just want to point that out. To get back to the main page, we just click on library. And I wanted to point out this A to Z databases. If I click on this, This takes you to a page that lists all the databases available to you. Notice we have 96 databases. You can use the alphabet here at the top to navigate if you know the name of the database. But let's say, for instance, you're not sure which database to use. So up here at the top, we have a tool that you can sort these databases. So I can look at the subject school of study, click on the down arrow. Let's say I'm in the business program. And I can, I'm just going to keep types, I'm just going to keep them all the same. I can click search and it gives me a list of the best bets. Business Source Complete, Business via ProQuest, eBooks and Academic eBooks. That's a ebook database, but it has business books. Merchant Market Atlas, great place to get company information, etc. The other thing is notice there are these little icons, and it kind of tells you what's in that database. We have a legend over here that tells you, so in one database you might find legal materials, or you might find case studies, etc. So, and if you forget how to do this, there's this little video right here that shows you how to filter the list. So I just wanted to point that out, and I'm just going to uncheck that right now, and I'm going to go back to the database list, and I'm going to click on D at the top to get to Discovery Search. Click on Discovery Search. Now this link is a little bit different. We're trying something new where we're providing some instructions. So here's a little video about how to use Discovery Search, but to link to the database, you click Access Database, and it takes us to this main page. And I'm gonna kind of move this a little bit down here. Okay, so I really like doing database searches using this. We call this the advanced search platform. And the reason is I've got 3 text boxes, but look at here. See that and? If I click on the down arrow, and, or not. Those are those Boolean connectors, those Boolean operators right here. So what I like to do is I use one line for all the terms that describe a concept. So the first one is social media. Oh, and you have to type, you have to be accurate in your typing because it will come back and say, oh, there's nothing with social media with a U. And I'm going to put quotation marks around that one. The next concept was teenagers. So I can put teen asterisk or adolescent. And notice it'll prompt you or I'm just going to do young adults. And then we're going to do the concept of mental health. So notice that I didn't use the or here for this line. I could just simply typed or between my synonyms, but I did keep the ands because I want all 3 of those here. Okay, there are other things you can do here. Notice that Discovery always defaults to full text, which is really nice. Discovery is searching a lot of stuff, so you're always going to get a huge number of results. And it's really nice to have that full text because I know how busy students are, and I know how quickly you have to complete your assignments. And if you had to wait for an interlibrary loan, you might not get it in time. So I always advise keep it at full search. So we're going to search, and I'm going to see what I get. And this is kind of a quick and dirty search, and I'm just going to see what I end up with here. Okay, so there's my search statement up here. I'm limited to full text. I got 8,812 results. So what I can do is they have these filters at the top. They're actually you could actually click on this all filters, and over here on the right, it tells you all the different filters you can use. So you can limit by language, geography, publisher, subject, source type, et cetera, et cetera. But the most popular filters are here at the top. The one that I usually always use because most of our students want really current information is I will click, it says all time, but I will select past 5 years. So our 8,812 list got reduced about 2,000 articles got removed. Now, source type. Now, you might be interested in seeing everything, but maybe your assignment says you should only use academic journals, so you don't need those magazines and newspapers and trade publications. So I can check the box for academic journals and click apply, and that reduced my list a little bit more. Now, note that it is sorted by what they call relevance order. And what that means is it looks for word frequency. So it's looking to see how often your search terms show up. And so the ones where it uses that, where the word shows up the most, will bubble to the top. So here we have on scrolling through adolescence, unveiling the relationships of the use of social networks. This sounds pretty good. So let's say I want to look at this one, and it looks relatively current. It's from 2024. It's in child and adolescent psychiatry and mental health. So let's take a look at this one. So I can go down here to access options, click PDF, and voila, here is my article. Okay. Um, there are some tools at the top that I want to point out. First of all, if you want a citation for this, see the little quote marks? That's the citation icon. I can click on this. Notice there are a lot of different citation styles. So you click on the drop down, select APA, and here is your APA citation. This is actually a pretty good citation. Sometimes in EBSCO they make capitalization errors, but this one looks perfect. And remember I mentioned that DOI number? There it is right there. So you can actually copy that to a clipboard and save it and have that APA style reference right there. So that's one thing I know students really like. The other thing is I have had limited luck copying and pasting the URL that's up here in this address bar at a later date. So what you can do is generate what we call a permanent link. And if you click on this share icon, and you come down here and click create link, you can copy that and paste it somewhere and you will always be able to get back to this article. Like if you're taking notes and you just want to remember where you found this, I suggest generating a link and copying and pasting that somewhere where you keep your records. The other thing I want to point out is there's this project button, and I probably should go back real quickly. Let's go back. Let's see, maybe I'll open up a new tab. Just a minute. Let me go to, wait, let me go. Oh, here. Okay, so here's the student portal. I'm at the library again. Databases. Going to go to discovery. Now, I hope everybody can see this. Can you see the second discovery search? Did I lose you? And please unmute because I can't see the chat.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. Okay, so I can click Access Database. And we're back at this form. Now notice up here in the right, there's this My EBSCO. Now I have created an EBSCO account, so we'll automatically go to my EBSCO account. But you can, if you haven't created an EBSCO account, click on that My EBSCO and it'll have a thing saying create an account. You just put in your email and a password. I always recommend using your Rasmussen credentials because then you'll never forget what they are. And once you create that My EBSCO account, then you can use all these tools in the dashboard. And the one that I really like is this projects. So if I'm doing research papers on a lot of different topics, and you can see I've created projects for all of these, I can start saving articles to folders in my projects. So the way to start a new project is you click on the plus sign, you can name your project, you can put a due date if you want to, you can describe it and click create and it'll create that folder. But I've used this social media mental health as a demo before, and I can click here and these are all the articles I've done in the past that I've saved to this folder. So Anyway, it's just a really handy tool to know about. The other thing too is it will remember your searches, so you can go back and look at your recent activity, and you can put an alert on one of the databases if you really want something. So that is just a great tool. So when you're looking at articles, um, like we're back here and we're looking at this article, scrolling through adolescence, I can go up to this folder icon. I can either create something new here, or I can go down and select one that I have. And it's probably going to tell me I already saved this one. So I can click add now and say it already exists, but you know, you can keep adding and adding to that folder. So I recommend that you create a My EBSCO account and start using the folders, because that's another great way to save resources as you're doing research in these databases.
Excuse
Okay,
me,
at this,
ma'am.
yes.
I'm sorry. I absolutely love that option because I have several folders set up for each of my classes.
Yay!
Yeah, it has helped me in my undergrad, and now I'm getting my graduate. But I do have a question. Do they
Okay.
ever delete? Like, do I have to worry about the stuff going away? Or I
You
just
know,
want to
that's a good question. I don't think so. I
make
know
okay.
last summer there was a problem because they moved to a new platform. So if anybody had stuff saved last summer, it
Yeah.
was unavailable for about 2 months, which
Okay.
was a problem because we were telling
Yeah.
students save everything somewhere else because you might not have. But as far as I know, as long as it's in there, it should still be in there.
Okay, and this new layout that they have is like
Mhm.
amazing. It was not like this when I got my undergrad a few years ago, and so I am loving all the upgrades.
I agree. I think it's so much more user friendly, and they've added so many more features that students like to have. So I agree. It's great. Thanks for giving it a good plug. So, okay, I'm going to go back to my slides real quickly. Um, let's see. And hopefully it'll bring me back to where I was. And you don't want to see that because we already did the demo. Oh, and this is just in case I had, okay, so here we are. Strategies for refining your search results. Okay, so you've done a search. I showed you the search we did had, what, like 3,000 articles. Best thing to do, A, limit it to full text. We're busy. We want to get those articles today, right now. B, apply a date range. Click on that all time, which I think is the worst label ever. I wish they had publication date or something, but click on the drop down, select the time range. I usually go rule of thumb 5 years. You can specify publication type, and sometimes some of your assignments will say only peer-reviewed journals, which are a very special type of academic journal. And you can limit it to that. Or if you want to limit it to trade publications, which are used quite a bit in business, trade publications have a lot of authority in some fields, like in accounting and some other fields. You can limit your results to English by using that language limiter. You can limit to the United States by using the geography limiter. You, if you're reading through articles and you see a good subject heading, you can search by subject heading. And then the final tip is if you try a term and you're not getting great results, um, think of a synonym. Or what I have found is if you find an article that's really, really good, you can read the article, see if there's different language, and you can add that to your search. For example, one time I was doing something about cell phones, but I found that in Britain they call them handhelds. So if I wanted to get that kind of British perspective, I could do cell phones or handhelds. But if I hadn't read some of the articles, I never would have known that that was a good searchable term. So, sometimes you have to be a little bit creative and kind of see what you're finding and then modify your search as you go along. Is there such thing as a perfect search? Absolutely not. I have found over the years that sometimes it takes a little bit of persistence and creativity, but the most important thing is put a keyword in the search box and click search and see what you get. Read through a few. If you find an article that's right on point, read the article, read the subject heading, see if you can broaden or narrow your topic doing that. Um, the other thing too is try other databases. So Discovery Search, as I mentioned, it's searching most of our databases in one search. So it's casting a wide net. If you're in a particular program, if you're in nursing, CINAHL is a great nursing and health sciences database. You might want to start your search there and not in Discovery Search. Likewise, if you're a business student and you're doing research on company information, we have some very unique company information databases. Mergent is one. Um, Business Source Complete is another. So there are some other databases that you can try to get better results. And I think I mentioned all the other things about the limiters that you can use to focus your search. So anytime I do a presentation on resources, I always like to remind students about the importance of evaluating the quality of the resources you find. So the big questions you should ask yourself is who created the content? Do they have the background and the expertise to be writing on that topic? What is it about? Is this article going to be really helpful in your research, or are you kind of going down a rabbit hole or getting pulled in a different direction? Is it really relevant? When was it published? Is it timely? Would somebody consider this good quality information that's up to date? Where did you find it? Did you find it in a library database? Did you find it online? How does that affect the quality of the information? Why was the content published? Was it published to sell you something? Was it published to educate? Is it balanced? Is it very biased in its approach? And then, of course, you want to know if it's really helpful to what you're trying to prove. So where do you find help? On the library webpage, we have a tab at the top that says Ask a Librarian. You can submit a ticket. We also have a live chat that we staff pretty much Monday through Friday during normal business hours. If that's active, pop in there and ask us a question. You can also schedule an appointment with the librarian if you're working on a research project and have, tried a little bit and you're really struggling. You can set up a research appointment, and that's all available on that Ask a Librarian page. We also have tutoring available. We have trained our tutors to provide basic library database assistance. So if a librarian isn't available or if it's a very simple question, you can always schedule a database search help tutoring session with our tutors. That's nice too because many of them are available on weekends and in the evenings. So just another tip. And as I already mentioned, the um, Research Help Guide, the Searching for Sources, has a lot of great information about database searching. So thank you for coming. I'm going to hang around for a little bit, but I know how busy everybody is, so I am going to put a link in the chat. This is a survey. We really would like to hear your thoughts about this presentation. I tried to cram a lot in and I went a little over time, so I apologize. But please take a moment and fill that out. It's not very long. And we appreciate your feedback and thanks for taking time out this evening. And I'm here to answer questions if you have any. And thank you so much.
I have a question.
Okay.
How many words are you able to put into quotation marks? I've had issues if I put more than two, like if I put 3 words in quotation marks, it doesn't seem to gather all 3 of those words together. And I don't know
Okay. Why that
there's
is?
yeah.
What I find sometimes with database searching is it's almost better to be more general than it is more specific because I think sometimes when you get too specific, it can eliminate a lot of things that might have been helpful. I'm trying to think of an example because I was trying to help a student with something today, um, and there was a really long phrase, and I thought, oh, that's not going to work. You gotta figure out something that's a little bit shorter, and maybe a little bit broader. Does that make sense? Because it's better to get more than you need than not enough. Because I think, what was it? I put something in the search, and I got like 2. And when you only get 2 results, it's like, oh no, we're missing a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I was kind of having the opposite problem. I did like I don't know, something about like regulatory health policy, and I would end up with
okay,
regulatory and policy and health all separate. So I ended up
yep,
with 40,000.
yep.
So Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe in that case, you would do regulation or a regulatory policy and health.
Okay.
That might give you a better result. But I know when you break it up, make it too general, then it's like so broad that it's all over the
Right.
place. But
Right.
you kind of have to, and the other thing too is look at how, when you find something, look at how they're writing about it. Because I've really learned a lot from that. It's like when I find something that's, are they saying regulatory policy or are they saying something else that implies regulatory policy? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of have to find it, read it. What are what is the common term for it? And that's the other thing. Sometimes as you do research, you'll find a phrase that is significant to that uh, sort of area of study that maybe you never were aware of before. And it'll be like, you hit the mother lode, you try that term and it's like, oh my gosh, here's everything I need. So sometimes that happens when you find some of those phrases that are kind of unique to a field. So
Okay.
um, and even with health policy, I'm thinking so the hospital association, sometimes, you think about the regulatory agencies or the agencies or the quasi regulatory agencies that do a lot of that health policy work. Sometimes putting some of their names in there might help too. Anyway,
Okay.
creativity. But I agree. Sometimes if those phrases are too long, it doesn't work too well. Any
Makes
other
sense.
questions? Of course.
What were the two business research databases?
Okay. The one I like, if you're finding articles for just on a business topic, there are two. One is called Business Source Complete, and the other one is Business via ProQuest. And actually, Business Source Complete is an EBSCO product, and I was demonstrating EBSCO products. So all EBSCO products are going to have that advanced search uh, platform that we looked at tonight. ProQuest is a competing company, but they have great stuff too. They also have an advanced search that kind of has a similar format. It looks a little bit different, but it basically functions the same way. But those are great places for finding articles. Now, if you're looking for uh, like financials for like a company, like you're looking for the 10K or 10Q or any kind of financial statement, or you're trying to do a market analysis, Mergent Marketplace is the place to go. On the library webpage, remember I showed you that research help? If you scroll down to the bottom, there's going to be a subject help area. There's a link there to all the business resources where you'll get a lot more information and tips on how to use those databases. So that's what I recommend you look at. But Mergent
Thank you.
for like financials and articles, Business Source Complete or Business via ProQuest. And if you use that sorting tool, they'll all end up on that list, that A to Z
Thank you so
database sorting
much.
tool. Of course, my pleasure. Anyone else? Well, thank you again for coming this evening. I really appreciate you taking the time. Reach out to us whenever. Send us a ticket through Ask a Librarian. Meet up with us in chat. We are here to help. So good luck to all of you, and I hope you learned something tonight. Thank you all.